Let's discuss the latest with Republican Congresswoman of Florida, Anna Paulina Luna. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with this pick to lead the Department of Justice, Matt Gaetz. This is a pick that you've celebrated and defended even against criticism from fellow Republicans. I want to get your response to this attorney for the two women who testified before the House Ethics Committee, saying that Gaetz paid them for sex over 10 times during a 2-year period. One of them alleging that Gaetz unknowingly had sex with an underage woman at one point, all allegations that he has denied. Have you been able to review their testimony? How much of it have you seen?
I've been able to get firsthand knowledge from the Department of Justice and FBI once they came out and acquitted Gaetz and actually dropped their investigation into him because they found that all those allegations, as you had just stated, were actually unfounded. You know, I really would appreciate it if networks would cover the fact that this was also tied to a $25 million extortion scheme against Matt Gaetz and his father. And to furthermore, you know, I find it interesting that these actual allegations come out at peculiar timing while he's being nominated to be the Attorney General. To be clear, I do think Matt Gaetz is going to be an incredible Attorney General. I think this baseless smear campaign, frankly, is abhorrent that it's happening to someone like Matt Gaetz, who's done so much to fight the government corruption. And there's a reason why President Trump won not just the popular vote, but also the electorate vote. Frankly, people trust President Trump's judgment more than any news outlet out there.
Congressman, I just want to clarify something. You said you got direct, first-hand accounts from DOJ and the FBI when they declined to prosecute him criminally. Were you able to review the testimony yourself?
What I can tell you is they came out in a public statement and actually had dropped charges against Representative Matt Gaetz. That's what I mean by that. And
Sure.
Frankly, what I'm finding is these baseless allegations, when people go out there and smear reputations, this happened to Justice Brett Kavanaugh. This happens to a lot of male Republicans or people that are nominated to positions of power. And frankly, as someone who knows Representative Gaetz, you know, when I was first elected to Congress, I think it's incredibly important for women out there to know I was only a few months pregnant. I had a reporter come up to me and ask me how many members of Congress I had sex with, also alleging that I had a relationship with Matt Gaetz, which was categorically false. But the reason why they did that is because I was standing up against the machine that exists here in Washington, D.C. So be aware that these types of smear campaigns do exist. That's why I've been so adamant about getting the facts out there. And I still back him. Frankly, I think that if the DOJ and the FBI had evidence, they would have prosecuted, because Matt Gaetz is a thorn in their side. But that's exactly why I think it's important for your network, especially, to put the facts out there. And that's why I chose to come on today.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Congresswoman. As you know, the DOJ declined to prosecute Gaetz because they had doubts about whether the central witnesses would be perceived as credible by a jury. Shouldn't the Senate, as it weighs this nomination, have access to the testimony of these women to see it for themselves, to gauge for themselves whether these accusations are credible?
You know, I will say this. I think Representative Gaetz would be incredible at explaining this to the American people, and I think he has. I think he's anticipating on doing that. But what I don't want to have happen is there to be a political, intentional release of information that's false and only done to smear someone. And I think that's exactly what you have happening now. You know, it's not by incident or by coincidence that you had someone apparently hack the emails or hack into the system to receive some of that testimony. But if the DOJ and the FBI had issues and questions of credibility, then why would we then even allow that person to have a platform? I'm sure you know, being in the public eye, that you've probably had people say things about you that are simply not true. And I think that that's what's happening in this instance. What's really unfortunate, though, is that the American people are not being given the facts. And the facts is that this man, Matt Gaetz, was actually extorted for over $25 million with his family. His father had to wear a wire that the FBI advised him to do so. And as a result of that, the people that were trying to extort him ultimately were saying that they were going to make these allegations go away. So if you have that type of corruption that exists out of the Department of Justice, I could not be happier that President Trump is putting someone like Matt Gaetz in charge, because I know that he's absolutely going to weed out the corruption. And mind you, Merrick Garland defied subpoenas to Congress. He broke the law, and he's in the sitting seat of the Attorney General. If you have someone there, how can you have a truly equal system in this country? Frankly, no one is above the law. I'm sure that my friend Matt Gaetz would say the same thing, and that's exactly why I continue to back him and President Trump's choice as him as Attorney General.
You're claiming that the Department of Justice is corrupt, though they declined to prosecute Gaetz. They also declined to go after President Biden over his classified documents, and during that chapter, you demanded transparency. You pushed to get the Robert Hur tapes released. You wanted to actually hold Merrick Garland in contempt, and you wrote, quote, for Congress to legislate effectively, we must have access to the information that will enable us to make informed decisions. When Congress is denied this crucial information, we are left to navigate complex issues in the dark. Can the Senate make a proper decision about Gaetz' nomination without weighing the testimony that is in this House ethics report?
I think that when you run the risk of having an uncredible witness that not just the DOJ but the FBI declined to prosecute Gaetz on, I think that you then open up a can of worms to having any Joe Schmo out there bringing forward testimony that might not be credible against any cabinet pick.
This isn't just,
exactly
Congresswoman, respectfully, this isn't just any Joe Schmo. This is testimony that was given to the House Ethics Committee. This is a report, a bipartisan report that's been compiled that Republican senators are now asking for. Should it not be released?
This is the same testimony that was, again, dropped by the DOJ and the FBI because these people were not credible. And I will say that for the senators that are coming forward and stating that they need to read this testimony, let's look into these people's stocks portfolios and how they're becoming multimillionaires off of $175,000 a year. The reason why people want outsiders, the reason why people are not buying this Gaetz smear campaign, and that is exactly what it is because of the fact that they understand that there is a two-tier justice system. You know, you mentioned earlier that I do think the DOJ is corrupt. Absolutely. When I find that they're giving special treatment to the Attorney General, that he doesn't have to testify to Congress, yet if any single other American does that, they go to jail. That is absolutely government corruption. But when you're then talking about cabinet picks, you're talking about an ethics investigation. I mean, I'm pretty sure Matt Gaetz has also been investigated for misuse of campaign funds that were also dropped. So the fact is that Matt Gaetz has, again, time and time again, stood up to the swamp. Frankly, I know him as a person. I know his family. And I've been able to be privy to the conversations behind closed doors of members looking forward to this leaked ethics report because they know that it's going to smear him. I'm not going to state who the members are, but what I will state is that that type of behavior, putting this forward to the American people, smearing Matt Gaetz' reputation, and then also undercutting the credibility of President Trump, who, again, the American people trust to lead this nation, I'm not going to play that game. Frankly, I hope that Congress can get back to focusing on why we're avoiding a war with Ukraine and Russia.
I do want to go back to something you said, Congresswoman, because these are Republicans, the Republicans asking for this House ethics report to be released. It's people like Senator John Cornyn of Texas. It'd be hard to describe him as anything but aligned with MAGA. Are you suggesting that there's something in his stock portfolio that's questionable?
I'm suggesting that John Cornyn, to my knowledge, made statements that was actually anti-MAGA about President Trump, and same with the new elected Senate leader. But I will say that Thune has since changed his tune, and it seems like he's more aligned with MAGA and President Trump.
But when they ask for the House ethics report, do you think that there's something corrupt about that? When they're asking for testimony, when they're asking for this report, again, a bipartisan report, do you think there's something unethical about that?
I think that what's unethical about it is that this has been shut down, that they're not requesting reports on other people who are knownly under investigation currently, and that those people from the get-go have not wanted Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General pick. So in my mind, yes, it's absolutely a smear campaign, being that actual investigation per the DOJ and also separate agency, the FBI, were dropped, that they're not covering the fact that there is an extortion claim tied to it, and the fact is that, and I believe that Matt Gaetz is innocent.
We do have to leave the conversation there. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to having you on again sometime.
Thank you.